Okay, so perfect. We will start now. So hi all our Udacity alumni. I'm so happy to be here with all of you today in our first event in this year and our first event in our series of tech events. Um, all our events will be recorded and we will share them on our community platform in case you would like to have a look or something. So let's start. Welcome all. I'm Dalia Saif, Alumni Community Manager. And as you know, we are here today to celebrate the World Digital Marketing Day, which was on December 16th. Mainly this day is highlight like the digital marketing professionals who are providing different services by using the digital platform, either to like reach customers, create awareness, or promote like the different products and services. And of course, this is one of the most important jobs that appeared recently with like the new technologies and that change every day with the new trends and with the new like social media tools and AI and others. So yeah, I'm very happy to like celebrate this day with you. And as you know, we, in celebration of this day, we created like a series of activities on our Udacity alumni community. We started with like our digital marketing tips and tricks, and today will be like our last tip for digital marketing. So I advise you to go and to check it out after the event, and to check as well our digital marketing competition. I want to remind you that you have still today to like answer the 4 questions regarding the digital marketing and to be one of the World Digital Marketing Hero. And don't forget that we will have 2 winners selected randomly to receive one of our schwabs. And last but not least, we have today our special event with one of the digital marketing expert, Mr. Abed Agha, who will be talking more about the social marketing and how it's adapting to the new trends and the rise of creators. Mr. Abed has more than 24 years of multidisciplinary experience in technology, media, and financial services. He has been working in like different leading institutions in the MENA region, Southeast Asia, and the US. And of course, he is the founder and the CEO of Sociata. So please, all of you, join me in welcoming Mr. Abed. So thank you so much, Mr. Abed, for like joining today, and it's a pleasure having you with us today. And I would like to thank you as well for sharing like the different tips and tricks with our alumni during this week. Really, personally, I found them very useful and insightful for like to start or to be like a digital marketeer now. So thank you so much. For all our participants, we will have like a live Q&A at the end. So you can either, if you have any question during the speech, you can write it on our Q&A box, or we can have like, you can keep it at the end. So welcome again, Mr. Abed, and the floor is yours.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me, Dalia. I look forward to talking to everyone here. I want to make sure that this is not a boring presentation, so please make it as interactive as possible. You have time to ask questions. I want to make sure that it's short and sweet, so you get time to ask as many questions as you want as well. So please take advantage. You can ask, even though my presentation is going to be highly focused on social media and creators, and for a reason, which I'm going to cover in a bit. Feel free to ask any digital marketing question that comes to mind. Happy to support on that, hopefully, if I know the answer. So I'm gonna share some screens, share my screen, and I'm gonna share some learnings with you today. First, I'm gonna talk about some trends why we live in a world today where creators are rising. There are obviously very much reasons for that. And one of the biggest reasons I want to highlight is, when social media came, it really changed the world drastically. Maybe all of you, I'm not sure, what generation you are, but you probably were born and you saw social as something normal for you. But for somebody like me who has gray hair, social, it was not normal. Okay, social was groundbreaking. Social was liberating, but at the same time scary. And the reason why is because, traditionally the world lived in a hierarchy structure. And, probably if some of you are from the third world like I am, we're always used to that authority figure. There's always somebody we have to look up to, the teacher, the president, all these big people that we have to also always follow. But the world, when social media came, flipped everything upside down. We turned from what we call hierarchies into networks. And when we say networks, the strongest in that network are the people who are most connected. Okay, that has been the case traditionally as well, obviously, but it wasn't obvious. Today, it's really obvious, and it can happen actually on social media. So the world has gone through that transition. And why am I talking about that? Because that has made tremendous changes even on advertising. Okay, so I don't know if some of you were born into TV. I was born into TV, and all we're used to back then is that if we're watching a show or if we're watching a movie, a series, anything, there's got to be somebody who's going to interrupt it with an ad. It always happened. It's like we have to watch these ads on an ongoing basis, even though we're watching something else. So the interruption was the standard, right? And brands, through that model, or businesses or advertisers, were reaching out when they advertise on these channels to many. Okay, so on TV, they would reach basically all the households. On radio, they would reach, the people who are listening probably into their cars or in their bedrooms when radio was popular in the bedroom, But then social media came, and then, the Facebooks of this world went and told advertisers, now you can go and advertise to communities. No, you no longer have to advertise for everybody. Now you can target, the people who are the mothers. You can basically target the business people. You can target the entrepreneurs. You can so all these communities now and all these networks you can target. But they offered them the same boring model: interrupt. So here's an ad, and we were all used to our feeds, when we keep watching all the content that we like, all the people that we follow, there's somebody who's going to come and interrupt us, right? So today, this is working to an extent, and I wouldn't say it's working a lot. How many, probably if I ask that question, some of you will answer in chat. Please tell me how many times you stop at an ad and you click on it. I'm sure you do, but it's probably not that much. Not as much as you click on the other content. So it's probably what, 1%, 2% of your behavior? So clearly this cannot continue. And when I look at my, and back then my 1-year-old nephew opening a YouTube video and clicking on the skip button, being 1 year old, that's when I knew these advertising models of interruption can no longer continue. And so brands are realizing, for us to succeed, we really cannot go and interrupt. We have to be born from these networks. We have to really make sure that when we arise, we basically show that we are from the people, to the people, not an external person who's the authority of the past, what we used to call the president. And that's how brands used to act. They used to act big and mighty, and yeah, I interrupt you on TV. Yeah, you can see me everywhere on advertising. But today, those brands who are really rising from people, and I'm pretty sure you guys have bought some not well-known brands, but brands that you love so much that you stumbled upon on social, is because they were born from within the networks. Okay, and I'm gonna showcase how that comes to life in a bit. So the world clearly, when social media came, moved away from the interruption model, or still is, an interruption, but they're calling it engagement today. And I'm pretty sure in the courses that you've done with Udacity and everything, the focus in digital marketing is always on engagement. Engagement is not sufficient. Today with digital marketing, the beauty is you can measure everything, and you can literally go as far as measuring how many people are actually loyal to you, okay? But to make really advertising successful, moving away from engagement is essential towards influence. And here I'm not talking about influencer, I'm talking about influence in general. right? Brands want to be influencing. It's the standard in life, not just businesses. We all want to influence each other. In fact, the moment we're born, just to show you that this is something very normal, the moment we're born, we're influenced by our parents. And we want to influence our parents at the same time. If you want an ice cream, what do? We use a tactic of crying. Because if we cry, we get what we want. Okay? So brands are realizing, yeah, you know what? We need to tap into those networks of influence and become very, very community centric. We need to look at our communities that we want to target and see what they want. And based on what they want, we're going to try to sell our products. I'm really trying to give a figure of speech just for you to try to imagine the movement away from interruption. Let me just interrupt all these people into towards let me be born from them. So social media, and the reason why brands realize that's the case, because they're more interesting than, people content is always more interesting than brand content. I'm pretty sure, there are some cases where we see some brand content that inspires us, for sure. But people inspires us way more. And the reason why that is because now all of a sudden we're seeing a lot of people on social media, especially in the past 10 years, really monetizing their passions. They would really, there's the foodies, the people who love the fashion, the beauty, the business. Everybody's talking about their passions on social. And the beauty is today, they can make money out of it. In the past, it wasn't so much possible. Even the musician, who wanted to have an audience, they had to go to those, big record labels and these broadcasters to be able to become popular. Today, they just pick up the phone, film themselves, build an audience around them, and monetize it and make money out of it. Trust me, brands will take advantage of that. And that's what we call today influencer marketing. So for really brands to make it successful, the first wave of influencer marketing we saw was brands going to people and telling them, yeah, here's a couple of, $100, say great things about me. Like literally, if there's any term for that, I would call it a bribe, honestly. And we see a lot of, we're all, pretty smart to really catch someone who's getting paid for promoting a brand and not being authentic. And but for these relationships to really flourish, okay, and for these relationships between people and brands to become authentic, these three pillars have to be in place. More equitability, meaning what I give the person as a business or as a brand is basically equal or equitable to what they give me back. Today, I wouldn't say it's equitable. It's mostly cash driven, okay? Which is fine, but brands don't even know how much they should pay someone. And even the people don't know how much they should charge. Probably some of you probably have some popularity on social media. I hope you do, because then you should be making a lot of money with time. But you probably wouldn't know how much to charge. Okay, so there needs to be, more equitability. There needs to be more standards on how, this equitable relationship needs to be measured. The second aspect is reciprocity. More reciprocity, meaning reciprocity means exchange of value. What I give them and what they give me is beneficial to both parties in a good way, in a positive way. Again, not here's some cash and say great things about me as a brand, because that's, again, if there's any close description for that, I would call a bribe. But for that to become better, brands need to be concerned with making people grow. So when they work with someone as a creator, they should be concerned to making them, be more educated about the business. Say, for example, it's a beauty influencer who talk about, makeup. Then me as a brand like L'Oreal, for example, like MAC Cosmetics, like Estee Lauder, I can go and teach them a little bit about the industry so they can be more experts. The more experts they are, the more they would be happy because they're learning more. So there's a role for the brand to do that, but there's also a role for the brand to make that person bigger. And I'll give you a very quick story of, the early days of Hollywood. And you would be very surprised that a lot of the people back then who became very, very popular, there was always a sum of cash behind them to make them popular, to make them really everywhere in PR. There's always a publicist or a PR person that's actually working behind them. And what pays for that is advertising. It's always been. I can mention, for example, quite a few examples. Probably you're all familiar with Marilyn Monroe. I don't know if some of you are familiar that, the brand that actually made Marilyn Monroe very popular behind the scenes is Chanel, right? So they were literally making sure that she's in stories all the time to represent the modern woman, Okay, it was very important for them, for Marilyn Monroe to really take that product further, and they had to support her. They had to create, movie opportunities for her. They had to put her everywhere, because the more she represented that, the more they would succeed as a brand. So that's a form of reciprocity. That's a form of let me look at what that person wants. They want to be more popular. They want to grow bigger. They want to make an impact on the world. Let me help them. So that's the second aspect. The third aspect is, and that's a problem that exists today with influencer marketing, is that there's no rationality. We spoke earlier about pricing. Yeah, I don't know how much I need to pay someone, but at the same time, how do I measure my success outside of sales? So sales is important. Maybe if I work with someone and they generate some sales, that's excellent. I know exactly how much I made. But there's also a value for, awareness, meaning how much, awareness that creator has provided that brand, how much consideration. Okay, meaning some people were considering buying, but they really weren't sure, or maybe they were aware, but they weren't considering to buy. There's an impact on that as well, and that has value as well. So there needs to be more rationality in these programs between people and brands. Now, what we also see is, when I spoke earlier about the exchange of value and in the context of reciprocity, what do they give each other? Obviously, they have to get closer. The relationship should not be, here's some cash and let me and talk about me as a brand. There needs to be ways for mutually to grow. So the brand to grow because of the creator, and the creator to grow because of the brand, and they need to share common values and vision. Okay, today it's haphazard. They go towards people. Yeah, sure. Some of them would realize that, yeah, I can work with some of these creators who share some of my values as a brand, but it's really not that structured well. And it's inevitable for that industry to move towards more closer collaborations between these creators and brands, mutual growth, and at the same time ensuring that there's common values and vision between them. But there's also, and that's, I'm going to touch upon some of your favorite terms today, which is AI. There's also a drive to measure everything. In the past, it wasn't so easy to measure. I wouldn't be able to know if somebody saw me on TV. But today, I really know if somebody saw my ad, if somebody saw the video of the creator. I'm able to measure that really well. So, and I'm able to get, from all these people talking on social, I can really understand what people want as an advertiser. The more people talk, the more the advertiser knows. And so, and the underlying of that whole, chatter on social, there are machines that are learning, and there's artificial intelligence that is analyzing very, very quickly. To provide what? They provide three things. Really, if you look at in the context of advertising, what does AI and machine learning provide? They provide the insights automatically. I can immediately know in real time what people are thinking and whether they need my product or not. It can give me some foresight, meaning I can predict a little bit what sort of results I can get. And at the same time, it can help me as a marketer be very, very efficient. There's one saying in advertising, if I spend 100% of my media, of my advertising budget, I know for a fact that there's 50% that's going to be a waste. In the past, marketers always knew that 50% of their money was going to waste. They just didn't know which 50%. So they couldn't tell you, which 50% is actually not, they don't know. Why? Because they can't measure. But today, yes, sure, there is some waste, right? But at least now I know which ones is being wasted, and I can make it more efficient with time. So my budgets become way, way better. So if some of you are in startups, really efficiency should be the key, because every dollar counts. If some of you are actually working in startups and you're a marketer, every single dollar counts. So it's extremely important to be very efficient about that spending. Now, a little bit about the trends. I've seen some of you ask some questions about, different ways to advertise. And today, because, there's the traditional players and there's the new players, there's a lot of noise. So I really want to clear your mind to tell you that there are only three things you need to focus on when it comes to being a marketer today: social, search, and e-commerce. Anything else you hear, so you probably are going to hear about programmatic media, you're probably going to hear about publisher advertising, plenty of terms left and right. Don't bother. Literally focus on these three worlds, and you're going to be able to definitely generate results. Why is that? Because traditionally the internet was a form of pages. Literally, we would go to AOL.com, Yahoo.com, Microsoft.com, we're always used to URLs to go. But today, the majority of our time is spent either on social platforms or searching for stuff on Google or buying something on one of those e-commerce platforms. This is if you just analyze your time today, this is where it is. How much do you spend time on pages that are on the web? You probably read an article here and there, but the majority of the time is spent in these places. So that's where you as a marketer should really be focused. Now, to really succeed in creating programs, and really if there's any advice I can give you, if you really want to do social, you're going to hear about social advertising. You're going to hear about all these products from Meta to create ads, to generate awareness and to generate clicks. My advice to you, yes, these are valuable. Sure, they do generate results. But, from the 100 people who are exposed to your ads, sure, 1% are going to be clicking and probably buying your product and still going to give you a return on investment. But there's 99%, if they see the ad so many times, they're probably going to hate you, okay? Because you're interrupting them all the time. So my advice, really, if there's any major advice I would give you, is don't be afraid to talk to people and collaborate with them. And you really don't need money for that. You'd be very surprised. We run programs for very big brands, and we just give them some products, and they would be willing to collaborate and talk about the product if they love it. So my advice to you as a marketer, talk to as many people as possible, even if it's a little bit manual, figure it out manually, and then get some tools to basically automate it. But at the core of it, for it to succeed, really, there's a methodology. And I invite you to take a screenshot of this to really apply it in your marketing programs, especially creator-driven marketing program. The starting point is to really understand your brand. What is my brand about? Who do I serve? Am I a toy product that sells to kids? What am I exactly? So try to understand what your product is, who your customer persona is, who's actually the customer who's more likely to buy your product. Try to understand that very well. But then when you go and you say, for example, say you're Coca-Cola, or say you're MAC Cosmetics, okay? You're a beauty brand. And you promise people, and we hear a lot of brands, wanting to take the moral high ground, and they would go and they want to promote, woman empowerment, okay? So to show themselves they're doing woman empowerment, they probably go to creators and let them, look, actually, this is how we empower women. Why don't you talk about that? But if I'm a consumer and I'm seeing a creator talk about MAC Cosmetics in the context of woman empowerment, and let's assume I'm a woman, I'm probably going to think it's a little bit forced. This is brand talk. This is not people talk, right? How do I get people to talk about me in a way where they can spread the message? There's something what we call the influence premise. It's really a reason that you're creating for people to share your message, for people to share your product, okay? And it's usually taps into what people tell each other, not what brands talk, but what people tell each other, okay? So in the case of MAC Cosmetics, if I want to go to a creator and tell him to actually create some nice content for me, I would tell them, tell me how you feel every morning, and accordingly, tell me what kind of makeup you put on. And this is the kind of content I want you to talk about. Every single morning, okay, I'm going to collaborate with you. Go ahead, talk about MAC Cosmetics based on how you feel, and just put the makeup in the way you feel. Now, all of a sudden, I have freedom as a creator to create the way I want, and the brand has given me an idea on how I can do that every single day. Okay, so that's actually a good influence premise. There's a reason why people would want to watch that. It's not brand talk, it's people talk. And the next step is to really try to identify which communities do I want to penetrate. And I like to call them cultural territories here because communities are intertwined. For example, me, I probably am going to be in technology, and at the same time, I'm an entrepreneur, but I also like music. But I'm in a cultural territory of some sort, right? I'm today in popular culture, I'm the entrepreneur techie, who's also, a geeky and plays an instrument. Great, that's a cultural territory maybe. So try to identify what are these cultural territories that I can penetrate as a brand and be very, very successful. So if I'm if I'm product that I sell to kids, for example, and I want to target mothers, great. Where are mothers hanging out culturally? Let's try to figure that out. Okay. And what are their mostly passions today? There's a new trend where they're doing yoga. Great. Let me penetrate the yogis, because I think yogis are gonna adopt my product and give it to their kids. So that's one example. Next is you need some tools to try to understand who are the creators who would be beneficial for you. That's what we call the influence map. Okay, you need some tools for that to try to understand who their followers are. Maybe you can contact them. They send you a screenshot from their insights to try to understand who follows them and what their performance is like. But this is important. Then you start developing the content that you want to do with them. So before we discussed the influence premise, and we developed the influence premise towards, you know, telling people, tell me how you feel every morning. In the case of MAC Cosmetics, tell me how you feel every morning. So so that's the kind of content you want to give them and tell them go and create on. And lastly, you really want to see overall all that content, what is it returning for me in terms of results? Okay, how are people going to my e-commerce website and buying, for example, or are they going to the store and buying it or not? So that's a nice blueprint that I invite you to look at. And lastly, I'd like to talk about the how do you actually measure and how do you you know, how do you create your objective when you first want to create a campaign? That applies, by the way, on any marketing campaign, whether through creators, through Facebook directly, through Instagram directly, through TikTok. It doesn't really matter. Your job as a brand is to move people from being aware of your product all the way to becoming an advocate or an ambassador. There's a journey for that. And, you know, if I'm aware of Coca-Cola, surely I'm aware of a Coca-Cola, but I probably like to drink more Pepsi, right? Or maybe I'm a Mac enthusiast, I'm an Apple enthusiast, but maybe sometimes, you know, Samsung comes to me and interrupts me with ads. So the journey is not so direct, you know, while Apple wants me to, you know, move away from being just aware of them and to become a very loyal customer and buy more products from them, there are other people interrupting me, right? So you want to be aware of this landscape. In the past, it was much easier. In the past, it was literally being aware, considering and buying it. Not so much interruptions, unless maybe somebody comes to me face to face and tells me, yeah, by the way, that product is not great. Why don't you buy this one? But in the past, marketers didn't tap into this. All they could do, and it was much simpler, is they could make people aware through ads on TV, make them consider by, you know, when you go to a supermarket, maybe they would show you the product and you can try it and ask you to buy. It was as simple as that. But today it's much more complex. It's much more dynamic. There's interruptions everywhere. You might, you know, learn about a product on social, go on search for it, and then you get an ad from someone else and you change your mind. So as a marketer, it's very important so you understand these journeys and how people are influenced, you know, through different means to buy the products of their choice. And that has a measurement. And it's also, I would invite you to take a screenshot of that. If you really want to measure your success properly, I simplified the journey here to awareness and all the way to conversion and loyalty, just for simplification purposes. But really, these are the KPIs that you need to look at. And in case, you know, you look at something that you don't understand what it is, feel free to ask the question a little bit later. But it's really about, you know, an awareness. Most importantly, if I want to generate awareness for my product, the measure is how many views did I generate? Don't waste your time doing photos. Don't waste your time doing carousels. Do reels on Instagram. Do videos on TikTok. Do stories on Snapchat. Do stories on Instagram as well. Video is what matters the most. And that's what creates the awareness. So, and to measure that, you need to generate views. You need to make sure the viewership rate is good. You need to make sure the cost per view is good, meaning if I paid someone or if I paid for an ad $1,000 to generate 2,000 views, that means every view has costed me $0.50. That's very expensive, by the way. The typical cost per view should not be exceeding, you know, a cent or two. There's also EMV. You can Google it, but it means earned media value, meaning the more popular I get as a brand and the more aware I am among people, people start talking about me. You know, they start sharing my messages. And that has a value, and we call it earned media. Okay, so that can be measured as well. And virality is also a metric. You know, you always constantly hear, yeah, how can I get my video viral? How can I get my video viral? That's not what I mean. So being viral is a myth. It can happen, but it's really hard to 100% predict that. Instead, my advice is try to seek a virality factor. And what I mean by virality factor is shareability. How can I make sure that piece of content is shared more? That's it. That's all you need. So the ratio of shares to views is high. If that is the case, your awareness is going to increase automatically. So I just, you know, spent a little bit of time on awareness. I'm not sure how much time we got, Dalia, if you can help me on this. If we have a little bit more time, I can go through the remaining KPIs. Otherwise, I can happily take questions.
Yeah, we can have like 5 minutes, maybe. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
So, so awareness, like I said earlier, is how do I become aware of the brand and how do I measure that? The next step in the customer journey is consideration. How do I make the person consider my product? And how do I know whether they're considering or not? And by the way, these KPIs apply to any activity, including influencers. Okay, so influencers is not a foreign thing that can be measured in a different way. Everything can be measured in the same way. So the measure of consideration is if I'm doing a post that has my brand in it, whether through a creator or if it's a post that I made as a brand myself on my own account, the measure of engagement is what matters. And engagement is the number of likes, the number of comments, and the number of shares. Okay, so these combined give me an indication that, yeah, more people are considering me. In fact, they probably are going to go by and move to the next step in the funnel, you know? And if they click, which is also another measure, which is the clicks to platform, how many people actually go and click to go into an e-commerce website, or very soon you're going to start buying from social directly with TikTok Shop and other tools that are going to come globally. It's already launched in the US and a couple of other markets. It's massive in China. So we can only expect the rest of the world to catch up. So clicks, okay, is also a measure of engagement. Now, how much time they spend on your website is a measure of consideration, right? Like if somebody's coming to my website, spending a good amount of time, I haven't bought yet, but they spent a good amount of time, that's a good measure of consideration. If the bounce rate is low, what we call a bounce rate is when somebody comes to my website and keeps exploring other pages and doesn't just leave. So that also measure should be very low. The bounce rate should be very, very low. The lower it is, the better. And also, how do I know there's more consideration for my product is how many people are searching for me more. So there's a lift in search volume. Sometimes when you work with a few creators, you notice also that your search volume increases because, yeah, a lot of times you see a creator talking about a product, you go on Google and you search for it, right? So immediately that lift in search volume increases. And lastly, to measure conversion, there are two most important metrics. Sure, it's very easy to look at this is how much I spent and that's how much I got back. That's what we call ROAS, which is return on ad spend. I spent $1,000 on advertising. I got back $3,000 in sales. Excellent. That's my ROI, $2,000. Okay. My return on ad spend is 3 times. I spent 1,000, got 3,000 back. Excellent. But the more important metric, which I invite you to measure, especially after some time, is what we call the customer lifetime value. It's not enough for you to advertise and get the customer to buy once. You want them to buy more and more and more and more. If you have a subscription product, you want them to subscribe as long as possible that you can. If you want them to buy, you want them to buy more frequently. So we call the customer lifetime value. It's a formula that you can create to say, if a customer I acquire today, if I do an ad and I acquire a customer at, I don't know, $100, I need to make sure that my lifetime value, meaning how much money I make from that customer across his lifetime with me, is $1,000. So the customer lifetime value is an average cost for how much I should or how much am I going to be making from different customers. Lastly, I want to talk about very quickly where the future of influencer marketing is going to go. Today, the influencer marketing or creator marketing or ambassadors, we can call them in so many different terms. Brands go to people and create content. That's what they do. The outcome of that relationship is a piece of video that's going on social. But we really see that moving away from not just content, that will remain, but also, so not just content co-creation, but also product co-creation. Okay. And I invite you, all of you, if you really would like to make money from your social media, in the future, you're going to be able to sell products yourself. And brands would want you to sell their products. But to sell their products, it's a lot more authentic if that product has your signature. And I'm giving really just a description here. When I say subscription, is this a description? A signature, it's your own touch. Is how do I add as a creator my own touch on the product? So we see that today with big ambassadorships. So, and we've seen that across the years, with, for example, Nike working with Michael Jordan to create the Jordan line. Okay. And there are endless examples of these that were created in the past. But we see that being democratized more and more, meaning even somebody who has 20,000 followers will be able to co-create a product with a brand. Not as much as a whole shoe line, for example, okay? But let me mention, the example of beauty, because it's very easy to comprehend. If I'm a brand, if I'm L'Oreal, and I have so many different products, I have eyeliners, I have lipsticks, I have, mascaras, all these different products. A creator can come and pick different products, create a box. So you call, say, the creator's name is Nancy. Okay. So Nancy sells a box called Nancy's Beauty Box. Okay. It has selections of products from L'Oreal, not all of them, what she believes are the best products that she can sell. And she can combine her own expertise, maybe some exclusive videos on how to put makeup on, right? Everything depending on the occasion. And Nancy sells that as a subscription. So it tells you, you know what, I'm going to make sure I'm going to send you these products every 3 months because you're going to run out. And I'm going to give you every season different ways to put makeup on, depending on your culture. And you pay me for that. So, and you, if you really love that creator, you'd rather go buy from that creator rather than buy from the brand. Okay, because you feel it's a lot more authentic. In fact, it was always like this. I don't know if you ever speak to your grandfather, and if that's ever in your culture. At least it was in my culture where I grew up in Lebanon. In the past, we used to go to these souks that all sell the same thing. So you would go to that souk that sells all kinds of grains. So literally that shop and the shop next to it and the shop next to it sell the same exact thing. So why would people go to specific shops and buy? Because their price is cheaper? Not really. Sometimes they would buy from people whose price is even slightly higher, but they love the salesman. They love the person. They sit with them, talk to them about the city and what's happening in the souk, or in the city. And so you have that connection with that person, and you're willing to pay a little bit extra just to keep that connection. So we're kind of going back to that on social. You buy from people simply because you love their content, you love what they talk about, you want to support them. And so why am I telling you this so one, if you want to become a creator, but more importantly, as an advertiser, you want to take advantage of that. You want to build such ways, to collaborate with creators in such an authentic way. Okay, obviously without it costing you too much. You want to make sure that you move away from just creating content into somehow, a co-creation process of products. Literally, we're going to have a much nicer social media. And I really am a true believer that the next few years are going to bring this to life more and more and more. So I'm going to stop here. And Dalia, I'll give you the floor to basically either ask the questions or we take questions from everyone.
Thank you so much, Abed. Really, it was like a great and rich presentation, and um, it's like you highlighted some point on how the concept of influencers is not like a new concept, but no, we have it like from the example of the souk or from the example of Marilyn Monroe. So it's very interesting to know that. And as well, you highlighted like a very important thing that I think the new technologies, new trends, and all that, they are like a double-edged weapon. So yes, they are very like they can help you. They can help in like the digital marketing. They can help in like increasing your reach and achieve your objective, but they are like a double-edged weapon, because before we don't have that much of interruption, we don't have all these tools to know about like the different products, so this make it like competitive, more competitive, and like it's difficult. It's like helpful, but but make it difficult as well. So thank you so much. Really, it was very, very insightful talk and very rich presentation.
My
And
pleasure.
now we can have like we have like some questions in the Q&A box, and of course, if anyone would like to have to ask a question, you can raise your hand, and we'll unmute you to ask the question. So we can start with the Q&A box. Alexandra's asking, the total clicks means site visits?
So clicks is not a visit, right? If you're on social and you click on an ad, say, for example, 1,000 people clicked on an ad, that's the clicks. But in the transition from click to landing on the website, sometimes you're not going to find the same number because some people's internet connection is a little bit slow. So they might not, reach, they might get bored. They might get a WhatsApp message and just ignore and go to that WhatsApp message. Then all of a sudden forget about the fact that they clicked on that link. So a click is the action of clicking on the ad, but landing is the people who actually get on the website.
Thank you so much. Okay, so how can I start the journey of social media influencer? Is there courses or books that could help?
So to become an influencer herself or himself, then if that's a good question, just start. Pick up the camera and start. If you have a passion, talk about it. And then you will learn automatically. You will know which content is getting engagement, which one is not. Sure, you can learn in courses, but really my best advice, especially with digital marketing overall, and I can see another question in the chat of how do you develop yourself in digital marketing, is do it, learn from your mistakes, because that's much faster. You can take a Udacity course that makes the process much faster for you. But at the end, if you don't apply, you haven't learned anything. You're gonna forget everything, right? So start, get the camera on, start shooting, and you will eventually learn. And don't be afraid to fail, because trust me, even if you start doing great with the first few videos, that means you will only get greater later. And when you look at the early videos, you're still gonna be embarrassed. So you will always be embarrassed about your early videos, no matter how you start. So just start is what I would say.
Thank you so much, Abed. So the next question is, what is CPV and CLTV?
So we touched that on the call. CPV is cost per view. So if I'm spending 1,000 ads to promote a video, $1,000, sorry, to promote a video, okay, and I get 1,000 views. So I spent $1,000, I got 1,000 views. That means the cost per view is $1. That's what a cost per view. It's the cost to generate one view. So it's a measure of awareness. And CLTV is the other one. We also spoke about that. It's the customer lifetime value. Okay. I invite you to Google it, but in effect, it's a formula that provides you with how much can you potentially make from every customer throughout the journey with you. I'll give you, when I'm buying toothbrush. Okay, say I bought I don't know, Colgate. Okay, maybe a year later I changed from Colgate to something else, and maybe I paid $20 every single month to buy Colgate. So 20 times 12 is $240. So my lifetime value to Colgate is $240. I stay for 1 year. That's how much I spend, and then I change.
Perfect. So how do I build up a network of relevant influencers, creators to promote my products? The first 3 steps.
So you can subscribe. There's a lot of tools that you can subscribe to search for these. Okay, but if you don't have the money, and that's only understandable if you're starting up, just find them on Instagram. If you sell a product, no matter what it is, you probably are watching your competition, and your competition is probably working with some people, right? The kind of people they're working with, try to find more of. They probably, everybody follows each other. You're gonna see them in the comments. You're gonna see other people talking about other people. You're gonna stumble upon them. The more active you are on social, you're gonna see some of these people, right? So our team, for example, even though we have our own technology where we can literally find anyone and analyze anyone, we still sometimes go back to a network of people we stumble upon on social, because technology cannot catch everyone as well at the same time all the time. So my best advice is find them on social, not just the popular ones. Don't be afraid of working with someone who has 10,000 followers, 5,000 followers. They're probably more genuine, and they're probably not going to charge you money. And they're all around you, trust me. If you have that same passion, you're probably going to find them following other creators who have that passion. If you go on their followers, you go through that list, you might find more people. Don't be afraid to do some manual search. It's cheap, takes you more time, but it might yield very good results.
Thank you. So our next question is, what would you recommend as a base digital marketing strategy for a firm that provides services in trade labor within Europe in terms of hiring new people?
I'm not getting the question. Trade labor?
Yeah. Patrick, would you like to elaborate more on your question?
Is it a B2B business? Is it a business to business or B2C?
Uh, Yes, basically hiring new people with use of social media marketing.
Can you
It's
repeat the question, please?
yeah. طب Patrick, would you like to unmute yourself and maybe you can ask the question?
Can
Yeah?
you repeat the question,
Yeah.
Dalia?
Yes, sure. Okay, so what would you recommend as a base digital marketing strategy for a firm that provides services in trade labor within Europe in terms of hiring new people?
So it's a recruitment agency, I would say. And how do they
Yeah,
actually market themselves?
basically hiring new
Okay,
people
okay.
with use of social
So
media.
LinkedIn is your place, right?
Go ahead, Abed. Hello?
So do it organically. Was I cutting off?
Yeah, you're cutting.
It was me. Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I'll say it again. On LinkedIn is your place, right? So LinkedIn is where the majority of hirings happen. This is the social network for professionals. So I would say talk about content, build content that talks about the matchmaking you've done between companies and people. So if you had, somebody you placed them before in a company and they've had successes, take some testimonials from them, generate a video from them. Yeah, I'd like to thank, this recruiter who has helped me land this job today. I started here and now I'm here. And this is why, and this is how I grew. And I really thank this person for bringing me that opportunity. So testimonials work really, really well. The more you can talk about such stories of people, the more you can elevate people's stories within the workplace, especially people that you've recruited yourself for companies, the more you're going to succeed. And especially LinkedIn, people love to hear stories of other people and they love to kind of share it. So talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about it.
Perfect. How do we stay updated with emerging technologies and trends in the digital marketing space?
Observe. Obviously, we saw about 10 years ago creator marketing growing a lot. Nobody was telling me this. Nobody was telling us this. There was no magazine telling me, yeah, creator marketing is going to grow. Doesn't work that way, right? But when you observe, the best way to learn advances is test things. If you're a business yourself, or if you're a marketer within a company, okay, test different channels. Look at the results. If the results provide excellent returns, then this is working. Then keep doing it until it stops working. Yeah, it's as simple as that. And then the stuff that's working, that's the stuff that's going to grow. So today, that's why I put the screen and I showed you social, search, and e-commerce, because that's what's really working. Nothing else is really working much. So that's where the focus is.
Perfect. If you're not a huge social media user other than word of mouth, what do you believe in the next best way to spread awareness of product or service?
Say it again, please.
If you're not a huge social media user other than word of mouth, what do you believe in is the next best way to spread awareness of product or services?
So unfortunately, to spread awareness, you need to be on social. That's where people's attention is. You cannot neglect it. However, I will take into consideration what you have told me is that you're not big on social. If you're not, then at least capture the people who are considering to buy a product similar to yours. So do search ads. The biggest advertising that will remain and will not change anytime soon is search advertising. Okay, so this is when you go on Google and you place ads based on keywords that people search for. So my advice is, outside of social, this is the next area where you need to advertise very, very heavily. Okay, and if you're not, again, a social enthusiast. The second one is e-commerce. If you can do ads also on the e-commerce platforms, that would be great. And when I say e-commerce, if you're a restaurant, you can make, there's all these aggregator foods like Uber Eats in our part of the world, Talabat, there's Deliveroo, do ads there. InstaShop, which allows you to buy from supermarkets, do ads there. Amazon, if you're selling on Amazon, do ads on Amazon, right? So these places as well present massive opportunities.
Perfect. How crucial is to determine the appropriate platform for establishing your brand?
Again, please.
How crucial is to
Yes.
determine the appropriate platform for establishing your brand?
Okay, very good. It's where your customers are. So if you're in B2B, okay, you talk to businesses, you just simply cannot ignore LinkedIn. Although businesses have people in them and they are using other platforms, you can still reach them to other platforms for sure. But your go-to platform should be LinkedIn in this case. But if you're B2C and you're targeting consumers to buy your products, you really have to talk to your customers and know which platforms they use the most. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is the platforms that are used in the markets. So if I go, for example, to the UAE, where I live, in the UAE, for example, the most popular platforms are Instagram and TikTok. These are the most popular two, when it comes to consumers. But if I go to Saudi Arabia, which is a little bit different, Snapchat becomes very, very important. If you go to China, you've got all sorts of other platforms that are extremely important. Okay, so again, talk to your customers, watch the platforms that they're using, and then also look at what are the dominant platforms in the countries you're targeting.
Actually, the last question we have is there market-wide ratio of spend dollar on Google search or sales to be considered as a goal?
So the way Google search is, it works based on keywords. So you need to identify a set of keywords that your customers are searching for and that are relevant for your product. So we sell, for example, an influencer marketing software. Okay, if I want customers to buy my product, I need to make sure that every time somebody searches influencer marketing software, they see my ad. Or maybe even if they search influencer marketing only. Now, influencer marketing software is more important for me because it's very, very specific. They're looking for software. So I need to make sure I spend a lot on that keyword if that provides a return for me. But also influencer marketing, if somebody wants to do influencer marketing, needs a software as well, that's a term that I would want to advertise on. But if I'm not getting so many clicks, those people are searching for influencer marketing don't really need a software, then maybe I would stop that ad. So the amount is, so to answer your question directly, the amount that you would spend should be the amount that guarantees that you generate enough sales. You cannot be spending more than what you're generating. Absolutely not. Okay. Not only that, you have a lot of costs in your business. So you want to make sure that the cost that the marketing cost should not really typically exceed 20% tops from the price of the product that you're selling. It really should not. But again, there are nuances. It really depends on the kind of business that you have. But mostly this is the case.
As a digital marketing agency, where we can find real clients and how to communicate with them and sell services?
LinkedIn, start posting content. I'm advising you this, even though I don't do it very frequently, and I should be doing it very more frequently. Even, we have a saying in Arabic, "Bab al-Najjar mkhalla." Even the carpenter's door is broken, right? So, but this is really the best advice I can give you. Create content on LinkedIn. The more case studies you talk about, the more advice you give free advice. Don't be afraid to give advice. Give free advice, right? You're an agency. I also have agency services. I can happily help you. I have no problem doing that. I cannot be threatened by you, right? So help out, give best practices, teach others what you learn, you're going to get business in return. Trust me on it.
See, we're still receiving like some questions, but we have 3 minutes, so maybe you can have like one last question. Could you tell us the top advices while making an advertising for service-based Instagram pages, interior design?
Creators. There are plenty of other interior designers as well. If you are an interior designer, there are people who love homes. They love to showcase homes. There are real estate people who show other homes, and they're popping in Dubai, for example, a lot. I don't know which market you are in, but trust me, you want to work with other people who share your passion. The more you do that, and the more you do that at scale, and figure out a way, maybe you can tell them, if I get a lead from you, I'm going to give you a coupon. If you get a lead from you, I'm going to give you 10% back from my sales. Figure out ways as a collaboration with other people. That's my best advice I can give you. And at the same time, look at pages that do architecture, look at interior designers, look at what else I would say, home makeovers. I don't know which, certain markets have a lot of people who talk about makeovers. This is how my room looks like, and now that's what it looks like. So all of these are basically places where you can potentially advertise.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Actually, I think we don't have any other like questions here. We still have 2 minutes. I don't know. Ah, no, there is like a raised hand here. So Alexandra, please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure is mine. Yeah, Alexandra?
From what you last stated, I wanted to confirm whether it was because you mentioned how incentives will bring in more customer outreach.
Can you repeat the question? You were cutting off earlier.
How incentives will reach more customers by giving some kind of, I guess, if you were to provide a discount, you would think that that would bring in more customer spending.
I'm not a big fan of discounts. The best brands do not provide discounts, right? Did you ever see Apple giving a discount on their product? Ever? You will never see that. Did you ever hear the word sale at Apple? Never. So my advice is don't give discounts. Okay, that's my general advice. If you can really get away growing your business without giving discounts, that would be fantastic. But incentives is quite different, right? So if you're collaborating with others and there's an agreement on the side where you can tell them, yeah, here's an affiliate code. There's a code for you to become an affiliate to me. Any sales that you generate, you earn, a part of that, then that's quite different, right? So let's differentiate between incentives that you give to other partners who can resell for you and discounts that you give to the consumers. Now, there are instances where certain products are price sensitive, right? Meaning, sometimes it might make sense to do a discount if you can bundle certain products. So you're not in this case doing a discount. What you're doing in this case is that if you're buying more from me, I'm able to give you more value in return. So I wouldn't position that as a discount. I would say this is a bundle price. I would avoid the word discount, even though the price is cheaper, but I would avoid the word discount because the more you can get customers used to discounts, the more discounts that they would want, and they wouldn't want to buy from you unless there's a discount. So that's the advice I would give you. I hope I answered your question.
Perfect. So actually, unfortunately, our event came to an end. It was really very interesting, very diversified. I think you covered many topics and many trends that and many questions, of course, that our digital marketeers have in mind. And actually, we still have like many other questions that we collected from our students. However, we don't have time, but I'm sure we can have like another event to maybe talk on different topics and to answer these different questions. Thank you so much, Abed, for this great talk, very insightful and very beneficial. And yeah, it was our pleasure, and I hope we will see you in future events.
It's my pleasure. So if anybody would like to ask questions, I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out. Happy to support. So thank you for the time, Dalia, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. So have a great day, all, and yeah, we'll see you in our next event. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.